Welcome. Let's do that again, shall we? It is Tuesday, and it has been raining steadily all night long. So I just opened up the window a crack because you know what time it is, right? It's early for me, and you know how little bit gets early in the morning. But anyway, I was talking to someone, and people get tired. You hear them say, I am so tired of trying to change. And I say, well, you're doing too much. Let me explain what it means to do too much. Because remember, where the battle happens, it all happens in the mind. That is the battlefield, right? But where is it happening between? Which two parties is this battle happening? It is happening between the logical and the neurological. Remember, the neurological is what you have always done. The logical is what you would like to do. That's the difference. The logical is what you would like to do, what you would like to become. But the neurological is what you already are. And those two things, mind you, they seem like two things, but they are not. It's just you, just one you. And so what happens with us is we have this internal struggle between these two things. And what wears us out, what makes us tired, what makes us do too much is not recognizing that you're fighting yourself. Okay? Not recognizing that you're fighting yourself. How so? Because we look outside of ourselves and we see the struggle, we see what's happening, we can feel it. And sometimes the first thing we say is, oh, the universe is testing me. Oh, God is testing me. Oh, I gotta learn this lesson. No. Flip the perspective if you must. Recognize that you're dealing with the logical side of yourself, which means, you're conscious, you can see what's going on around you, and you know when you want to make a change. That's logical. It's totally natural. The neurological side says, wait a minute. I have been doing this thing for years, and you want me to change on a dime? No, you've got to be kidding. You see, this is where the saying, old habits die hard, come from. You're fighting the habit. One does not fight a habit because the habit will always win. Why does the habit always win? Because you've been doing it the longest. So in order to defeat your habit, so to speak, you make a new one. And some say, oh, but Angela, you make it sound so easy. But really, it's easier said than done. And I'm like, but at first it appears to be easier said than done, only because you've never done it before. Right? The first thing we say as people is, well, I can't be that consistent. That's just too much work to be consistent with that. When in actuality, you are consistently doing the thing you don't want to do anymore. Why? Because of the habit. What do we say about people? We are creatures of what now? Habit. You see, we say things, but we don't hear what we say. We are creatures of habit. A habit is the principle of rhythm. Rhythm says there's a pattern, there's an ebb, there's a flow. Rhythm compensates. This is what rhythm is, and we all have a rhythm. Can't escape it. We all have a pattern. So when you see your pattern, when you see it, that is 98% of the work right there. The recognition of the pattern. Because now you know you're not crazy. Now you know, oh my God, this is not so hard after all. Why? Because now you know how to make a new pattern, a new habit. How do you make a habit? By choosing something and doing it the same way every time. This is how one makes a habit. So, what makes a habit stick? Well, a couple of things. The desire to want to do it. That's one, the desire to want to do it. And two, repetition. That is how one makes a habit. You see, we think that habits are so hard to start, but they're not. All you gotta do is the same thing the same way every time, and bam, there it is. But what makes the habit stick even faster is the desire that you wanna do this. Oh, you love doing it. And even in the beginning, if you don't love doing it, and this is where the word addiction stems from. Why? Because it is something you do the same way every time. You are compelled to do it. So now let's paint the picture for you. Here you are logically wanting to change. And doing everything on the outside to change. But on the inside, you have a pattern. And the pattern must be fulfilled. That's why you are compelled to do it. There's an inner force. You heard this saying, the force of habit, which means the strength of habit, the power of habit. That's what force means. And it also means to compel, to make you do something. That's the power a habit has. And that is never going to change. But what helps you to stop doing so much is the recognition that you're just following a habit. A habit is neither good, bad, nor indifferent, because that would be a judgment. And the moment you judge the habit, you feel bad about yourself. And then what happens? You continue to do it because you feel bad. And so the way to change the situation is to recognize that you're going to need a habit to get out of the present habit that you're in. Because that's what we do. We just change from one thing to the next. So when you're looking at any habit, it does not matter what that habit is. All the habit is something that you have done the same way every time. That is all it is. It has no power. It really doesn't. Because it could not have gotten there if you didn't practice it. So where does the power lie? The power lies within you. It lies within you to make the decision to say, I want to become ... And as you make the decision, your desire to change. And some people say, but Angela, change is scary. No, change is not unknown to you. Because we think the change is unknown, because we think we don't know what's going to happen, that's what scares us about change. But if you are the one to say, I want to become this is what I'm changing into, then why are you scared? You have already set out the parameters of what you want to become, so it is not out of the blue. You've chosen. So here's what happens when you do too much. You are fighting between what you want to be and what you are. And the reason why what you are wins every time is only because you've done it longer. You have consistently done this particular thing. So the key to your freedom is consistently do the other. I know it seems incredibly simple, I know it does, but that is because it is. Think about what you're presently doing. You didn't do it once and stop. You didn't do it twice and stop. You didn't do it 3 times and say, oh, this isn't working. You didn't even know you were doing it. You just did it. And then all of a sudden you said, how did I get here? Where did this come from? Well, I don't want to do this. You see, you have always been consistent. Always. You've always been faithful. You would not have accomplished anything had you not stayed the course and been patient and been persistent. So if you can do it with something you do not want, you can also do it with something that you do want. So, as I prattle on, let me tell you how, or shall I say tell you the process, because we all do the process all day, every day. Step 1, you recognize who and what you are. Meaning, what are you going through at the moment? What are you dealing with at the moment? If you're a woman, what are you dealing with? Mind you, men and women deal with things all together, but we have different ways of expressing ourselves. Men express themselves in a particular way because of their design. Women express themselves in another way because of their design. One's not more expressive than the other. Women aren't too emotional. Men are not too emotional. It is just that one of you is like fire, and that is a man. Why? Because a man does. He moves. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of testosterone. That is like fire. So everything he does will have the nature of fire behind it. Whereas a woman is like water. And still waters run deep. It takes a lot to churn that water up. But once the water is churned up, heaven help us all. So we're not so different. We're just elemental beings. But we are so hard on each other. Us, men and women. So today, whatever you're going through, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, and you're trying to figure it out, observe yourself first. What are you presently doing that you do not want to do? I don't know what that is, but you do. First of all, there's no shame in it. Shame is a nasty thing because it is parasitic. You know what a parasite is. We talk about that all the time. Oh my God, you gotta do a parasite cleanse. But yet we don't get rid of guilt, nor do we get rid of shame. And they're the first 2 parasites that should go. They rob you of any iota of happiness you could possibly have. Why? Guilt makes you say, oh, I feel so bad. I shouldn't have. And then you beat yourself up. Shame is its partner, and it says, oh, but you know, they're gonna laugh at you. You can't tell anybody these things. You can't share who you truly are because they're gonna judge you. And then you keep that stuff all inside. But you can't escape it. If you're feeling guilty, if you're feeling ashamed, as within, so without. You will display it on the outside for all to see, even though you think it is hidden. And it will rot everything you touch. So how does one even get rid of guilt and shame? They are just habitual feelings that you've had. You've had them all the time. And you keep feeling them all the time. Remember, doing the same thing the same way every time. So they're just habits now. So if you don't want to feel guilty, you don't want to feel ashamed, what do you want to feel? Well, you want to feel sure of yourself and you want to feel accepted. Obviously. That is the natural thing. So how do you do it? Well, it starts on the inside. Because one only ever recreates themselves from the inside out. From the inside So you see that voice in the back of your head, as we call it, the inner critic, that tells you, change, you? Well, you're just like your mother, you're just like your father. You're just like this person. Well, you'll never be that person. That inner voice is what I'm talking about. The one that plagues us sometimes. It is not what you are. It really isn't what you are. Because the inner voice, the still small voice, and I'll tell you how to recognize it. Have you ever said, oh man, I should have done that. Oh shoot, I'm so glad I did it. You know, one of those two times. You heard do this and you did it. You heard don't do that and you didn't. And you said, oh, I'm real glad I listened. Or shoot, I should have listened. You see that inner voice? That's the one. That's the beautiful one. Because it will always guide you, not just to do what is quote unquote right, but it will guide you to do what uplifts you and others at all times. Never harmful. Remember that. So that is the inner voice you want to pay attention to. The judgmental one, not so much. And you'll know the difference. One of them will make you feel, the hills are alive. That's how one will make you feel. And the other one makes you feel, oh, whammy, Lord. Yeah, all comes down to that feeling. So how do you change? You first examine where you are without judgment. Oh my God, I'm 50. I should be further in life. Look at everybody else. They're doing so much better than me. No. That's the biggest roadblock to change. That's the surefire way to keep yourself where you are. So if that's what's going through your head, and that's what experience you're having, well then you say, oh, I see you. I see you. Just see it for what it is. A habit. Just see it. And now that you see it, you ask yourself a very important question. What would I be doing if I were the man or the woman I wanted to be? What would I possibly be doing? How would I wake up in the morning? How would I walk out my door? How would I greet my neighbors? What would I be doing if I were my ideal self? And as you begin to answer that question, you do not taint the answer with, yeah, but it might not be possible. I'll tell you what's possible. Ask the artist, the painter, the sculptor, the author, the seamstress, the chef. Ask them what is possible. And they'll tell you what I see in my head is possible. Well, how else would they make it? They have to see it somewhere first in order to recreate it. So they make the original stencil, which is the idea, the image within themselves. So does a choreographer, mind you. They hear this piece of music and then they see the footwork. They feel the way the body moves. That's a choreographer. Where are they getting it from? Within. And how do they get it out? By practicing it from within. They start to see the dance moves and they get in front of the mirror and they do what they saw themselves do inside their mind. That is how you change, because that is how you started out in the first place. You heard something in your head. You're the sweetest child ever. And you started to behave like what you saw, the sweetest child. Oh my God, you're such a brat. Why don't you ever listen? You're so dumb. You started to see it in your head, and thus you started to act it out. That is what we do all day, every day. We begin to experience in imagination what we would be doing in reality if we were the man or the woman we wanted to be. Before you choose your outfit in the morning, it flashes in your mind's eye before you put it on. It is the same thing with the mental attitude. Oh, somebody's rousing. I don't want him to sing just yet, though. Anyway, I digress. So today, you've gone through step one by recognizing what it is without judgment. Without judgment. Oh, you can't do that. That is a judgment. It's going to take too long. That is a judgment. All you do is recognize what you presently are. And then step two, begin to experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality. Oh, oh, okay, good morning. Come on, sweetness. Good morning, handsome. Good morning. I know you're mommy's sweet boy. Yeah, he's awake. He is awake. And so after you started to experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality, a feeling begins to take over. A feeling that says, oh my, I can do this, can't I? Because think about the dancer. Think about the sculptor, right? Think about the writer. They get their character in their heads. And they know what they know what they want their character to say. But the character is not separate. The character is not separate from them, is it? Just like the dance moves are not separate from the choreographer. They are one with it. So you have to do. You have to do. Because it's you, right? And it begins to make, when you get your character right, when you get the dance moves right, when you mold the cake just right, Flo smiles. What happens when you step back and you look at it, you go, yeah, I got it. This is exactly what I want. So when you see who you want to become, you say, yes, this is exactly who I want to become. And then what do? Rehearse. Rehearse the heck out of it. This is why people tell you, live like you would like. Behave like you would like. So you start to rehearse. Why are you rehearsing? Because practice is what sets the stage for you to make it a habit. So this is why persistence and faithfulness and the love of what you're doing will assist you in your change. You understand what I'm saying to you today? So if you're a gentleman and you say, but Angela, I am like 5'8". Chicks don't dig that. Let me tell you a little something, okay? My father is absolutely amazing. My father is 5'3" and 3/4. And I'll tell you this right now. I've never, in all of my years, hear my father say, oh my God, I'm short. Nobody wants me. I've never heard him say it. because that's not how he sees himself. My father walks into any space and commands it. Why? He might be a little bit shy. But once he surveys the space and sees where he wants to be, he takes it over. He has got the most beautiful smile and goatee. And let me tell you something, when the sun hits the top of his head, because he's bald, my father is perfection. He is. But you know what people always say about him? You're so kind. You're so caring. You're so gentle. But don't get it twisted. He'll take you out. Even though he's a little scrappy one, he'll take you out. He will. And listen, the world saw fit that it didn't just have one of him. He's got two. And identical to my dad. Isn't that something? So he walks with a measure of confidence in himself and what he is. He's always done it as long as I can remember. Right? So the key is not how tall you are. The key is, how do you see yourself? If you walk with those shoulders back and that head held high and your smile at the ready, it doesn't matter who you encounter. It is irrelevant who you encounter. They'll come to you. They will come to you, sir. Oh, but what if I'm shy? So if you don't want to be shy, what do you want to be? Bold, gentlemen? Bold? Well, then you have to stop saying things like, man, you can't talk to these women out here in these streets. Eh. Let me tell you a little secret. I had to let him get his out first. The way to talk to someone, you see, the way you talk to yourself, that right there. The way you feel about yourself is the way you're going to talk to yourself, and the way you talk to yourself is how you'll talk to others. If you're not derogatory to yourself, you won't be derogatory to others because it did not come out of you, because it's not in you. So this is why you practice. How do you speak to yourself? Practice there so that when you encounter someone, it doesn't matter how beautiful you might think she is, you won't become tongue-tied. Why? Because you've been practicing the way to speak to yourself that edifies the self. Now, ladies, let's not get it twisted. You won't roll your eyes when somebody says, oh my God, you're so beautiful. You won't roll your eyes and say, what do you want? No, you know why we would do that? Because the inner conversation. Man, can't trust these men. They think women are gold diggers. If you have that conversation going on in the back of your head, how do you possibly think you will treat a gentleman who dares to approach? You see how powerful that inner conversation is? It will drive you every single time. So what are you saying to yourself? Because it's how you see yourself. That's why you would say these things to yourself, because you see yourself in that fashion. So begin to see yourself in a different light. Well, what do I mean? Ask any selfie queen what her best side is, and they'll tell you. So you've got to see yourself in a better light so you can capture the best of yourself. Is that not what you want to present? Don't we want to present our best selves? Well, I want to present my best self to me first. Every time. So, we're out here in these streets doing too much. About, oh my God, it's so hard to change. No, determine what you want that change to be. And have faith. Faith? Angela, we talking about faith now? Not faith in man. Not faith in whatever. But faith in That's right, little bit. Cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. But what does that mean? It means, we'll go with correspondence, as within, so without. As you plant, so shall you reap. That is what you have faith in. Why, you ask? Because the outcome of planting is always going to be reaping. It is inevitable. The outcome of planting is reaping. So the outcome for your change is the satisfaction of the change being brought about. That is always going to be the outcome, your satisfaction, regardless of what Mick Jagger said. Right? The outcome is always going to be satisfaction. Trust me, we chase it all the time, do we not? But you don't have to chase satisfaction. It is a natural occurrence. You eat your favorite dish. What's the first thing you say? Oh, that was so good. Is it not? Indeed it was. That's exactly what you'll say. You get that fresh coconut water. Oh my word. Or in my mother's case, mangoes that have been drizzled on overnight by the rain and kissed by the sun. And she sends me the picture and she goes, "Look what I'm eating." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Mom." And they're beautiful, you know. And when you bite into them, you say, "Oh, they're so sweet." Juice runs all down your chin. And what do you say? Satisfaction. The outcome is always your satisfaction. That is fact, not opinion, darling, if you observe. Because look at how we get when we don't meet our satisfaction. Just an observation. But anywho, I trust that it makes sense to you today, and so you'll stop doing too much and recognize that the struggle is happening between what you want to become and what you presently are. And to cross the chasm between the two is to recognize that you don't fight what you are. You create who you want to be. You do not fight the old habit, you make a new one. And how do you make a habit? By doing something the same way every time. What is it also called? Self-discipline. Anyhow, YouTube says I've been yattering on for 33 minutes, and I think that's where I'll draw the line today. So who's with us here today in these streets? TX Price is in the house here on YouTube. Hey, welcome to the space. There's someone else here too, but they haven't made themselves known in the chat. But I will say hello to you nonetheless. Who's on Twitter? Well, Twitter is as Twitter is. Tumbleweed Twitter. But that doesn't mean we stop going to Twitter. Who's on Fanbase with us this morning? Hello, Moon and Dolphin Duck. My beautiful KZ. KZ, remember to your mother for me. Say hello to Mom. Hug Mom for me. Reacher is in the house. Hey, Reacher. Hey, Ray Ray. Oh, and Oracle Tree House. Hello, darling. Hey, girl. I see you. And listen, we can't ever forget that Lil Bit's in the house. We heard him loud and clear because he's ready for the day, is he not? He sure is. And that means Lady and Biscuit will also be awake too. 'Cause who sleeps through that? Well, Noah sleeps through it. He's fast asleep. But remember, the reason why we feel fatigued and stressed is because we're fighting what we want to become against what we presently are. Don't fight those two things. We're not a gladiator. Come on, gladiators, ready? That's not what we are. Hello. We're not gladiators. Just simply recognize that what you want to become, so long as you know that that's what you want to become. You know how they tell you if a child wants to learn You can't stop them. Why? Passion, desire is what drives us. God, I feel like Agent Smith. Because that's what he said in the Matrix. He was passion, and he was purpose. Purpose. The purpose is really the passion. Melly Mel! Melly Mel is in the house. Hey, girl. Big Mike. Hello, Michael. I see you. Welcome, darling. So remember, you're just fighting between what you want to become and what you presently are. And what you presently are will always win if you keep fighting it. So don't fight it. Surrender to what? What you want to become. Surrender to what you want to become. And how does one surrender? By seeing what it is they want to become in their mind's eye. And then experiencing in imagination what they'd be doing in reality if they were the man or the woman they wanted to be. And then practice. That is how one surrenders. Pardon me, because one resists by pushing against what they don't want to be. And as the Borg would tell you, resistance is futile. It just is. But anyway, thank you all for being here on this glorious Tuesday. I have no idea what today holds other than that phone is going to be ringing off the chain, okay? It'll be like Grand Central Station, just like it was yesterday, with the amount of claims that come in from the water. Right? So, it is what it is. But I do love it, though. Not the phone calls in the water or the reason for the calls, but I love the calls because people are very interesting. I had one lady say, because I said, well, it'll be about 2 to 4 weeks before we can do an inspection. She said, well, can't you come out right now? I said, it is raining. She goes, well, get a raincoat. I said, but darling, one cannot climb onto a wet roof. It is slippery and dangerous. She says, oh my God, I never thought of that. I said, it's all right. We rarely do. Well, let me tell you something. I hung up the phone. I had to laugh. Nobody has ever said to me, well, get a raincoat. Get a raincoat to go on the roof. I said, Lord, I can't. I said, I cannot today. But you know, if if you have any iota of patience with people, we just begin to understand them, don't we? And that's what I mean when I say, thou shalt not judge, right? So, anywho, I am sure I'll have much laughter in my day like I usually do, but I love you. I just truly do. And I want you to know that whatever the situation is that you're presently dealing with, everything is going to be all right. Not because I'm trying to convince you of that, because I'm not. I don't have to convince you. Why is everything going to be all right? Because there is an ebb and there is a flow. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. And as within, so without, because everything moves, and it's moving through stages. That's why everything is going to be all right. You are moving through a stage at this present time. And the principle of vibration says nothing stands still. So you are not stuck, my beautiful friends. Right? We can always make it like a tree and leave. You know what? I'll stop. Make it like a banana and split. Look, go forth today and enjoy the beauty that is. And when you look in the mirror, know this. You are amazing. Not because I say so. I don't know you. So how can I tell you that you're amazing? Other than I know what is there already. the same thing that is within all of us. The all is in all. I love you. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to each and every one of you. Enjoy your glorious day, and I'll see you tomorrow if you want to hang out with me a little bit. Right here on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Fanbase, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mwah. Much love to you all.